If you're tired of not making progress and you're ready to be the artist you know you're meant to be, you're in the right place. You're listening to the Singer's Path podcast. The Path, or Performing Artists Training Hub, will cover everything, including singing tips that actually work, advice from top industry professionals, and life-changing mindset shifts. Out with the starving artist and in with the thriving artist. I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, professional singer, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and stop the gatekeeping of quality information so you can actually become the artist you dream of being. So let's get on the path, shall we? Even though we're all on our own journeys, it always helps to have a guide.
Hello. Welcome to the Singer's Path podcast. I'm joined here today with a very special guest. We have Grace Morgan on here. Yay!
Hello.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have you on. I've been kind of scouring who I follow on the TikTok and on Instagram to ask people, artists specifically who are New York based, that are different stages in their career, have different experiences. But I think what really caught my eye, and I'd be curious if other people reached out to you or like what that was like, because I'm sure it was a lot. But you had a video kind of pop off and it's sort of a niche way, like it was still within the community of the entertainment industry, but talking about grief and the realities of, your career shifting and all of that. And I was like, oh, I got to get Grace on here because she's talking about stuff we really need to talk about on here.
Yes.
So I'm so happy that you're here today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So just to get people to get familiar with who you are, and obviously I'll attach like your TikTok in the show notes so people can like get a feel for what you do and the content you make and all of that.
Yeah.
But I'd love to get like a little background on you as far as like you're a musical theater gal, right? You went to Michigan. We were just talking about that. Musical theater lady. We were talking about your husband. Tell us a little bit about like the early life and maybe that original dream. Like what drew you to musical theater in that early part of your life?
Yeah. I think my parents describe it as sort of that this is just sort of what I always cared about. It's what I always wanted to do. I think I was 5 years old when I begged my parents to let me to start doing community theater. So I was involved in community theater from like 5 to 10 and then started working professionally in Indianapolis from like 10 to 18. So I worked there's a couple different regional houses in the Indianapolis area, one of them being Indiana Repertory Theater and one of them being Beef and Boards. And so I worked at those theaters all through my teenage years and took a class there and studied with actors there. And then so then when it came time to audition for schools, I had a bit of a professional resume already, and I really wanted to pursue it much earlier, but my parents were like, you can become an actor when you're an adult. We're not gonna like be, trying to, I don't know, we're not splitting your family up or anything. So you can do that when you're an adult and you can go to school for this. So I didn't really understand much about, I think at that time, I just didn't really understand how the college process works, which is funny now because I coach kids.
Yeah, the college process is fucking insane.
It is insane. And I coach these kids, and when they give me a list of 15 schools, I'm like, maybe let's bump it to 20.
Yeah, we got to up that number, babe.
Which is crazy because I applied to 3. I did not.
Really?
No, I just didn't know. I was sort of well, these are the top 3, so then hopefully I'll get into one.
What were they? So they were Michigan?
Michigan, CCM, and Boston at the time. I was also given, my mom was like, I don't want you to be far away from, either us or my grandparents. My grandparents live near Boston, so. Okay. And I'm from Indiana, so they, Michigan and CCM were kind
Midwest.
of I was hoping one of those would work out. And I was waitlisted at CCM, and then I got into Michigan, so.
Great, gorge. I was the opposite. I had God, I was a freak. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know if it was just the timing of the industry at the time. I think has it does have a reflection on I think, well, I don't know. It depends on classes and auditions and saturation and all of that.
Sure, yeah.
So it was quite a long time ago, but I auditioned for I think 12 schools.
Yeah.
I got waitlisted at 2 and got into 10.
That's amazing.
It's insane. I can't even fucking believe it, honestly.
Wow.
And so the two that I didn't get into, but I was like waitlisted at, were Michigan and Carnegie Mellon.
Crazy.
I got in everywhere else. So I was like, wow,
That's
what the
amazing.
fuck? And now we're here doing auditions, and I'm like, can someone phone a bitch, please? Like,
Yeah.
I know what happened. I'm just sitting in this void here, just twiddling my fucking thumbs.
Oh
like,
my
what's happening?
gosh.
But it's just interesting.
It is.
I actually almost went to Penn State because we have a mutual friend, Carol, who went to Penn State.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I actually accepted that class
Wow.
and then backed out because I was waitlisted first at CCM, but they also waitlisted pretty much all of the girls, which is a very interesting process.
Interesting.
At the time, I don't know if this is how this works. They would over accept boys
Wow.
because they
know
moved most
that they
of them
would-
to Michigan and to Carnegie Mellon. They would
Interesting.
So they were like, oh, we'll accept as many boys as possible. And then they only accepted like 2 or 3 girls. And then as the boys said
Fascinating.
no, then they took girls off of the wait list, which is interesting.
Interesting. Huh. Well, gotta have like a plan, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting, like how have college auditions like... I coach a few kids as well. My sister also went through the process. I'm curious, like, what you found to be different. I mean, obviously, you were kind of like going into it a little blind. I was too. Like, I had no idea what the fuck I was getting into. But like, how have you seen the shifts like now versus like when we auditioned?
Oh, totally. Well, I think just in general, there's so many more people auditioning.
Yeah.
And I also think that a lot of people have done the summer programs before. Yeah. I didn't even know those existed. Like, I didn't even know what Impulse was. I found out about it when I showed up to Michigan. They were like, oh, we were in Impulse. And I was like, well, what's Impulse? Like, I didn't know what that was. So I was very clueless. I didn't know anything. And honestly, most of the professional work that I had done in Indiana was plays. Well, so I hadn't done... Like, Indiana Repertory Theater doesn't even do musicals. They, every once in a while, like in a blue moon, they'll do a musical, but mostly they just do plays. So I sort of came more from like a Shakespeare background and a play background.
Damn, girl.
And
so young to be doing Bill.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
I literally have a friend that I want to coach me on Shakespeare because I was going to do an exchange with them so that they help me learn shit because I feel like I haven't... not well versed in classical theater, and it's a shame.
Oh man, it's so brilliant. I love Shakespeare. It's the best.
And you when did you fall in love with Shakespeare? Like, were you a child? Like, how did you?
Yes, yeah. I think I was like 9 or 10 years old when I started doing classes at the theater, and we learned like, oh, what a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act. Like, we learned that whole opening monologue, and we just, I don't know, it was described to us in a way where it just made a lot of sense to me. And I also grew up kind of obsessed with the Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson version of Much Ado About Nothing.
Got it.
It has like Denzel Washington in it, Keanu Reeves. Like, have you seen this?
I've seen clips of Emma, but it was only when I was like researching for a monologue or something.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good movie.
Okay.
But I think it just became like really accessible to me at a young age. And my mom also is like literature nut and loves Shakespeare. So I think it just kind of was, I don't know, it's kind of always around. But it doesn't feel like an intimidating art form to me. It feels like because I think at the time that Shakespeare was being written, I mean, it was like the Love Island of its time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like, it just was popular. Like, all of the peasants loved it, you know? And then royalty ended up loving it as well, of course. But, like, it was very accessible at the time. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, half the time Shakespeare was literally, like, making shit up. Like, all the words that we have now, he just, like, made them up. Because he was just like, this feels like it makes sense. So, like, it's not like he was, like, it doesn't feel like highbrow. It feels like very accessible. Once you kind of, you know, I don't know, get to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the barrier, though, if like you just don't have the experience doing it or the exposure to it, or you didn't catch the bug early, or have a teacher that's passionate about it. Sometimes, like I found that with certain subjects in school, it's like I loved history because I had good history teachers. You know,
that's so part of it.
That's so part of it, and education and all that. But
yeah,
but that's so interesting. So you ended up when you auditioned,
Yeah.
again, you didn't know pretty much anything about college auditions, but you had been doing plays, so you probably had some baller monologues, so that's groovy.
I had some good monologues.
Good monologue.
Yeah, and I had a voice teacher that had, I think some kids do. Like I know, I'm trying to think of like who was around when I was doing that. It was like Becca Peterson. I don't know if you know Becca Peterson.
Yeah. Are you
She
from?
and I
No,
from.
how do you know Becca?
We both had the same voice teacher. We both like grew up in the same circles. So
Who was your voice teacher, Ryan?
her name R.I.P. Her name was Joe Trackmiss.
Oh.
And she was just this mom from, actually her son is the guy who originated There Are Giants in the Sky.
Oh, gorge.
Yeah, he was like 16 or 17 when he did that on Broadway, which is crazy. I know.
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods.
Damn, bro.
Original Jack from
Jack.
Into the Woods.
All right, Jack.
Yeah, so she always like loved theater, and then her son pursued it, and then she started kind of teaching a lot of theater kids. So yeah, there's a good amount of us, I think, from like Indiana who all had her as a voice teacher. So, but anyway, yeah. So then I went to school, and I met my husband, saw him first day of school. I was like, he's so cute.
He's it.
He's the one. And then I loved school. I actually am still so close to a few of my professors there that I talk to a lot. Like it's like I was texting them, two of them last week. So
That's amazing.
and I got dinner with one of my professors a couple weeks ago. She lives in New York now. So I feel very close to, it felt very familial being at school. I really enjoyed my time there.
That's good.
Listen, it can feel absolutely nuts being a performer, especially a professional performer. Our minds are a little bit wild. We're super creative. We can make things out of nothing, which is awesome. But sometimes our minds can work against us and we can be really self-critical. We can spin out. We can get anxious. We can have a hard time letting go of things. We can really sabotage our own success. Quite frankly, as brilliant as our brains can be, they can work against us just as much. That's why it's time for us to start looking at our training beyond even just being in the vocal studio or going to the gym. You need to train your mind, do that mental and emotional game so that you can stay in it longer and actually bring into fruition the success that you've been working so hard for. You need to take your brain to the gym. That's why I created the absolutely free Abundant Artist audio series. Let's get your brain, your nervous system, your subconscious mind to be on board with the success that you actually want. Let's rehearse for that. Olympic athletes rehearse the mental game of being on the field or being on the court. Why wouldn't you? If you're following your dreams and you're pursuing your dreams, this is the missing piece because you're not welcoming the success. You're subconsciously pushing it away because we're not rehearsing for the success. So go to the link in my bio, get the absolutely free Abundant Artist audio track. Let's start feeling like the artist that we actually want to be. Let's start rehearsing for that success. Stop being the artist that's just surviving, pursuing your dream, and let's start thriving.
I had a good college experience comparatively
Yeah.
for people that went to CCM.
Yeah,
I mean,
some people are traumatized by.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'm slightly traumatized, but I just dragged my trauma there. So it wasn't their fault. It was just mirroring again.
Got
so
it.
it wasn't like, no, I had worse shit happen before.
Okay.
But no, they treated me well. I think because I functioned well in a dysfunctional environment
Yeah.
because of my other shit. So like, my trauma, I think, got me through it in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because I kind of thrived in that before I was conscious of what was happening. But there were a lot of things later that I was like, that was fucked up, and that was fucked up, and that was fucked up, and that was fucked up. And, I think, and it's like, I don't know that it's, again, I really only owe good things to CCM. My voice teachers there were very helpful. I think they met me where I was capable of being met. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I wish was, I thought it was ridiculous that we would kind of get reprimanded to audition for things professionally. We did anyway, but there were like times where the head of the program was like, you're not allowed to leave. I won't do the impression. Everybody has an impression, but we're not going to do
Yeah,
that.
that
here.
was pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I didn't fully. I could fully do it.
Yeah,
I
that was good enough.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But
I got the gist.
You got the gist. But yeah, it was, people would get in trouble if they tried to go and audition for regional contracts. If it interrupted rehearsal or something like that. I'm like, but you know what's happening. Like, why don't you just fucking not have rehearsal then? Because we're trying to get our equity cards and move to the city. This is all about working.
Right.
So, and I think also witnessing how they treated and talked to other people, and there was just a festering disordered eating situation happening. So trigger warning for people. I just said it, but it's also like what time of it was in society and what was happening and what was acceptable and the Broadway body and all of this and because I had already struggled with that early on in dance, being a dancer, it was like. It's just like home. Like it was just something I just accepted. You just have to be skinny and you have to, but it was, it was the culture too. Everybody was talking about their calories and when they worked out and if they did Insanity at the time was like the Shanti. Everybody was doing Shanti.
Insanity.
And listen, and I was in good shape, but I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't really healthy.
Sure.
I was really, it was kind of interesting because I was probably pushing myself really far, but then, compared to now though, because my whole focus was still on singing and acting and dancing, like I could still handle it, I think. Nowadays, I was just talking to you before we started talking. I came from an acting class that I love and I adore, and I respect the shit out of everybody in there. I respect professionals so much. I'm honored to work with professionals when I do. And, it was just one of those where it's like, I know it's so hard balancing a business, and being on your phone all the time with social media. And I know, guys, I fully know I'm calling myself out. I know I harp on it being like, listen, you kind of got to get over it and do it because when the world shifts in a certain direction, it's like, what can you do besides harness it? Or you're just going to bitch about it? Like, what's that going to do? As far as like posting and social media. Yeah. But I also want to say it is fucking exhausting.
Yeah.
And the balance of that is so hard to feel like you're pulled in 10 different directions is insane.
Yes.
So anyway, that was a rough point today at class where sometimes I'm like, I wish I was just acting again because it's just like
so many things.
Just having that. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent. Thank you everybody for listening to that. But my college experience, to wrap that up, it was good. My stomach is rumbling. My college experience was good. I was well rewarded, I think is a good way to look at it. So I got to play Elle Woods.
Yeah.
I was Lena and Singing in the Rain. And at that school, there was, at the time, so much money. I was treated better.
Nothing is better than the sets at CCM.
Literally, they're Broadway sets. They're Broadway costumes. It was like just being in a Broadway show.
Yeah, it was incredible.
It's incredible. So and I was in shows with people who are like currently on Broadway doing things. Like Max Clayton was our Don Lockwood, and it really did feel like we're all babies and we're all learning. But so did you do any productions at Michigan? Like what did you?
Yeah, I did. I think I was actually really grateful. I feel like my professors really let me do some things outside of what I thought I was capable of doing, which is really awesome. I never ever played a soprano role at school, which is very strange. I always played like the big belter, which was very strange because I still am like, I don't know how to belt, but clearly I've been doing it for a long time.
You do.
But we did like Brigadoon, and I really wanted to play Fiona, but I was Meg. I was like the fiery, saucy, fiery one, which was really fun. But I will say I love comedy.
Okay.
And that is something that I feel really comfortable in. And so I think that's comedy is a hard thing to teach. You either have it or you don't. Yeah. And so I think because of that, I think they wanted to bring that out of me. So I did Meg in Brigadoon, and then the following year I was Roxy in Chicago.
Gorge. Okay.
And that was really fun because I also I dance well enough, but like I'm not gonna be in the dance ensemble covering a lead. Probably I would be like either the lead or I'd be in the singers ensemble covering somebody. Like I'm not like an extreme dancer. Yeah. I can tap pretty well, and I also have enough dance training where like I can make my body look not awkward. Like if you need me,
like you can mask as a dancer.
Absolutely. You're not going to know, but I'm going to need 20,000 more time. Like the time frame to learn a combination.
Sure.
It's going to take me like 20,000 more times longer than a dancer.
See, so this might be a little self-sabotage talk of how I've like fucked myself for years, but at the same time, like I feel that way too. I grew up like dancing, but it was such a toxic environment. I have so much trauma around it. My head is so fucked up with dancing. It was like I was never like naturally that good at it. Like I liked it. I was good at tap because it was musical. And I loved the rhythm.
The rhythm, yes.
But like
that's always came very naturally to me.
That was beautiful. I love that. I have nothing but good things to say about doing tap competition and doing tap. However, you know, in an environment kind of with the body image thing, having, you know, a really toxic, I'm from Pittsburgh. So it was like literally dance moms, like almost literally, like I'm not even fucking kidding. Like we were like an adjacent studio to that experience.
Crazy.
Like literally they knew each other.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah. So then when I was at school and we were doing showcase, it was like, oh, well, you're kind of showcasing at that time. The strategy was you're showcasing kind of against each other. You're not, but you are, right? How are you going to in this arena of?
I've never heard that phrase. You're showcasing against each other.
Kind of. I mean, that could be a really negative way to look at it, but you wanted to consider how you would stand out amongst your class.
Okay.
That was it. You're not really.
That.
But you know, that's a very CCM way to look at it. But
yeah.
But yeah. So it's not. We all know that we're individually like good at things.
What makes you stand out?
Right.
Yeah, I hear that.
But again, within the context of this container.
Yeah.
Which I don't really necessarily agree with, but I think people were like looking at how they were trying to pick things that they were good at. But again, the environment and how things were operated was a little on the toxic side anyway. So people are basically just trying to go in and belt as high as they can. But it was like, I kind of knew, I was like, well, of everybody here, I know that I dance better than anyone here. Many of the girls here. Well, there's a couple other girls that could dance very well, obviously, but like the majority rules, like I was coming into the industry looking like a leggy showgirl. Like I could do that. Like that's how I was marketable at that time. I could belt, I could soprano, and I could kick my face. Right.
Yeah.
So then very CCM of me. So that's what I presented myself as. And so I feel like I spent a long time like once I realized that wasn't really something I wanted to continue doing because it didn't fill me up because dancing never really lit me up to begin with.
Yeah.
Then it was like, I still feel how you're describing like in my heart, but like I feel like then it was like, well, no, you do this. And then I keep getting put into dance calls with dancers. And I'm like, y'all have not fucking figured out that this, like when I used to make it past those dance calls because XYZ was working on it.
They were thrilled. Right.
They would be thrilled if I'd make it past the call and get in the room because then I'd outsing people.
Yes.
So that is a real thing that people do.
Yes.
And we have friends that do that. They're amazing at both things.
Yes.
But then what you're saying, it was like, I was always a little, if I'm so fucking honest, I was always like a little jealous of the people that were like, well, I can't. So this is my track. Which is so weird, right? To be like, I wish I didn't have this skill. Which is like not a positive way to look at that.
Interesting.
Because
I feel
like
the
fighting
opposite.
it. Yeah.
I feel like I would have more like I'd be more helpful if I could dance a little bit better. Yeah. Because now ensembles are so, I mean, all the covers have to be like dancers, it feels like.
That's true. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm a little bit less useful in the industry. So that's an interesting point of view. But it is really fascinating because like I don't understand. There's so much about this industry I don't understand. Yeah. But like recently, and tell me if you've been through this experience too with Gatsby, where like I was in a through the Seoul production of Gatsby, the one in Korea.
Sure. Who are you in for?
For Myrtle.
Okay, I auditioned for Jordan. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, bet. That song is so hard.
So hard.
I got through it. I should have just changed the riff because I saw Amber change it later. I was like, fuck. But I tried to do the whistle riff.
Oh my gosh.
I got through it, but I was definitely like phoned in.
Oh my
like
gosh.
acting wise. So I was also so like, hard. I don't want to. Right now where I'm at, like, I'm happy to submit this, and I'm not even sure about this right now.
Totally.
So but they've never asked me to audition for Myrtle. And I'm like,
You would
fucking
be
why?
a great Myrtle.
Thanks, dude.
So through that process, I did a couple rounds, and then they had like probably 20 of us come in for covers.
Okay.
And none of us were dancers. Like all of us were there. Like we had no idea at the time that the people that they were bringing to Korea were like so fancy.
So fancy.
So we were all like, we're all leading people as well, but we were all there to cover, which is great. And we were like, everyone was happy to be there. They literally had to like start over after because they decided to teach us like the dancer-dancer combination.
No, not from
and
Gatsby.
Everybody in that room is not a dancer. Like everybody was fine, but we all were like looking at each other and we were like, why are they teaching us the really hard combination?
But I kind of
and
love
all
that
of
you
us
had
looked bad.
But you had that community, and that's what I appreciate about this story because y'all were like, dude, what the fuck? I actually love when that happens in auditions because then it's like the actors kind of against the team. The actors going, that happened. I once, it was Baby One More Time. What was it? Once Upon a One More Time, many moons ago.
Oh, yes.
Like when they were just developing it, like I don't even think it had a title or whatever, but they were like, it's like a Britney Spears musical, I think was like what it was. And we had no idea. I think it was maybe an ECC. We're all coming in there. These LA hip hop,
oh my god,
like street dance choreographers. I was like the first round, like of anyone. They'd never seen anyone. I don't think they had appointments yet. It was like they're combing through, right? They're so excited to be there. They're like, oh my God, like we're so excited to see the New York talent. It's a room full of showgirls. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing there? They try in the first like 10 seconds to teach us like the first count of 8. And I see the light leave their eyes. It is just so downhearted. What happened?
No.
Questions are flaring in the choreographer's eyes. They're like, wait, what? Where are we? Like, can these people not do this? We all looked wretched.
Yeah.
It was
yes.
so bad.
It's so nice though when you're all feeling the same way. Yes.
Except if there's one person that's like, I got this.
Oh
well,
my
good for you,
gosh.
sis.
Good for you.
Like,
good for you. None of us are ready for this. No, we were all so bad and none of us got it. And I think they had to start over. But like, it was just so funny to me that like, I was like, why are you teaching the hardest combination to all of these people who are here to cover the leads? Like, and I also know that those tracks like aren't like the best, most incredible dancers either. Like they're, you know, like they weren't asked to dance like, and you know, a huge amount.
Well, I wonder if they're like, are they shrinking the cast to like have people double cover, like do something like that? I'm like curious like how that ended up.
I don't know how, I don't know how that ended up. I didn't really look into it, but it was just a funny situation because I was just like, oh, I wish I could dance better, but I also I feel justified that everybody in this room is also not picking up this choreography
like
as
very
quickly
validating.
as they wish.
That's what when I was worried about choreography, we're like talking about dance so much, but my thing with choreography, if I'm a little out of practice, I don't know, it depends. Like if I'm detached and I'm not mind fucking myself, which by the way, guys, like I'm making this new thing. I don't know if it's announced. You would have heard the ads at some point in here. But this new membership, this new thing that's happening, I'm making it because I fucking need it. So that's why I'm fucking making it for myself to help me unmind fuck myself, like quite literally. But like sometimes when I am going into an audition, like if there's just so much noise in my head, like I will go into like pretty much a trauma response while they're teaching the choreography, and like I cannot like remember it. And it's like really mortifying to like stand there and be like basically shitting the bed because you don't remember the choreography.
Yeah, just black out.
Were they like just blasting through it with you guys, or did they try to like reteach it?
No, they blasted through it. So I can tell you more info.
That's all right. We can do later. Yeah, that's fine. So anyway, that's dancing, y'all, and that's dancing.
That's on dancing. No, at school they did tell me after my sophomore evaluation that I didn't have to dance anymore, which was an interesting piece of feedback. But they tend to do that, I think, often at Michigan. Like if you dance well enough, but you're not like a dancer, they're like, don't worry about it. Just worry on your singing and your acting. You dance fine.
It's so different because CCM was like, everybody will be elite at everything. It was like the triple threat push, like every like, and And at the same time, it was like, this is what you do still. At the same time, it was like, this is it was very typey based. It was, so anyway.
Yeah, it was my experience was so strange because I really was not typed. Because then, of course, I went into the real world and I was like being shuttled from room to room. Like, is she going to be in Les Mis or Phantom? Like, just soprano land.
Yeah.
And I showcased with On My Way from Violet. So
hey, bitch, work. Okay, but like that's great. So did you have like a cross cut where you're doing soprano in your showcase, or did your agent just find that out later, or like?
I don't really know. Actually, I don't even know how that came to be. I think this goes in sort of more to kind of like the story of kind of the main element of grief in in my journey was that when I graduated, I very much felt like one of the it girls. Like any appointment I wanted, I got. And
I actually had the same experience. Like I was like fucking glowing.
Yes.
After school, I was like so confident. Yes. I was so surrendered, and it worked and it flowed.
Totally.
Did you book like kind of soon out of school?
Yeah.
What did you get?
Yeah. So I got two different regional gigs, and then I got Phantom.
Gorge. And you covered Christine? Or
well, that's another long story. I had guaranteed 2 performances a week.
Amazing.
But we can talk about what is allowed to stay in or not. But basically they attempted with this it was the new 25th anniversary Phantom of the Opera tour.
Okay.
And so they decided to look into some contract work to try to kind of like use what they had. And so they did away with the idea of an alternate principal contract.
Wait, why?
And so I didn't know that until I showed up to the first day of rehearsal. I was in the ensemble. So 6 times a week I was in the ensemble, and then 2 times a week I was Christine.
They were like treating you like like you had to do principal things, but they were still paying you ensemble, basically.
Yeah. So I was basically just I got my guaranteed 2 performances, and I was always paid that.
Okay.
On top of my ensemble contract. But I also was just like, it was a weird situation. Like I wasn't allowed to leave anything in the other dressing room. Like I was not allowed to show up to a certain time because they were doing switchover costumes or whatever. And they just treated me, which is a whole other, I'm fine. I was fine to be a cover. I didn't even know, I don't know anything at the time. Like it wasn't like it was like I was being a diva. Like I just was like confused. I was just like, I don't know what you want from me. Like so anyway, but it was like I was billed as like at certain performances, Grace Morgan. But I didn't get any like perks of being really a principal in the company. So to summarize, I think that it is really easy, especially because my experience at school was so positive. My expectation was like, we're going on tour. We're going to sit around and sing Kumbaya. And
everybody's going to have friends.
Yes, we're going to all be best friends. We're going to be in each other's like hotel rooms having movie parties and blah, blah, blah. And like never went to a single cast member's hotel room. Like never, nobody, it was very insular. Everybody was very much every man for himself. And there was like not a lot of Kumbaya happening. There was not a lot of conversation at all in our dressing room. Like it was a very quiet experience on tour. And it wasn't like people didn't like me. That was how everybody functioned. Like it was just not so lonely. It was a very lonely year.
Did you make like a friend? Like a singular friend? Like
I mean, I'm friendly with there's no bad blood. Like I think everybody is I think everybody is very nice. But I don't have like a ton of close relationships from that experience. Yeah.
Honestly, I had a similar when I went on tour. It was the same exact thing. And I was like, this is going to be great. And like the rose-colored glasses
what did you tour with? I can't
Cabaret.
Remember. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty open on here about things. But generally, when I was on tour, the first 6 months were insane. They were incredible. It's so great. I was learning so much.
It's amazing.
It was a good time. I was blessed to be part of such a good production. I think was also the other thing was like the bar was set very high then forever.
Yeah.
However, once the cast what can happen on tour is if the cast has like a couple storms within it or some eggs that kind of taint the rest of it, it can really easily spiral the cast downwards. And I think just people, I don't know if they were away from loved ones or just people start not acting like their best selves.
Yeah.
And I was the baby in the cast. And of course, I probably, was learning some things and, I'm pretty outspoken. And I think at one point it was just like there were like teams that kind of happened. There was kind of a mean girl situation in the cast. And I think had played along a little while to fit in, and then I noticed I was like, this isn't really who I am, and this bothers me, and I kind of stood up for someone that they were more or less bullying, and then I became like a target, basically.
Sure.
So those months were really hard to feel, and like they were really cruel. Like I don't know how helpful this was. I was friends with one of the sound people, and guys, sometimes if your sound person is, a little curious cat, they will listen to your conversations. So just so you know. But she had, I know. And I don't know how professional that is, but it happened. But she would be like, I don't know how helpful this was for me to know, but she told me like nasty things that like some of the people in the company had said about me, or what a joke it was that I was like wanting to audition to cover or wanting to do.
Oh my gosh.
And just how cruel, so cruel. And like as a young, first of all, fuck you. I would have been so much better. I was good. Okay.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Anyway, just saying, if I really doubt the bitches that were in that company would ever listen to this. They're probably still drinking their cocktails, shit talking me, and that's fine.
Yeah,
you know what? Go ahead. Go for that.
Probably.
But anyway, that was really hard. That was the beginning of a big mind fuck for me.
Yeah.
And I think it was the grief was settling in of, this wasn't what it was. This isn't what I expected. Why does it feel off? What's wrong? And right after tour, and I started to isolate, because then the cast like turned over, and it was actually really lovely. There's some really lovely people, but then I isolated because I was like too afraid of like getting close to someone again.
Yeah.
And then I got off the tour, and I actually still auditioned pretty well. I was still pretty surrendered, and I booked another show right away. Amazing. But then when I was on that show, it was the other Josh Cohen, I started having intense like stage fright and anxiety and imposter syndrome. It was like really bad.
Interesting.
And from that point on, I think what ended up happening was I more or less was trying to cope with how my dream was just so vastly different than what I wanted it to be. Like the reality of the situation. Now, I'm all about like we can manifest whatever the fuck we want into reality. And that's why it's really important to get clear on those things, because when you're met with that friction of, oh, wait, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I think there's there's big grief in this life, but that's a big one of like this thing that I've wanted to do and I've worked so hard for. This isn't an answer for me. This, even in application of doing it, the devastation of, oh my God, like I'm miserable is bad. And I'm curious, like, when did that start to set in for you? Because if we're talking about there's phases of it and waves of it and it deepens and, we pivot through it. But for you, like, did that first settle in kind of in Phantom where you started to notice that? Or was that like a little bit later? Like, where did that kind of start to happen?
I was really ready to be done with that tour and like open up my options, coming out. And I do think that I had a few months where I felt sort of like I was kind of processing like everything that had happened. I truly am like, I could make friends with a tree. It's so hard for me to make an enemy. And so I just think it took me a few months to kind of process what it was like to go a year on the road and like not come out with like best friends. I think that was really challenging for me. And like it made me think when I was listening to this like recent like Emma Watson interview. I don't know if you saw that show up on, she was interviewed recently on a podcast, and she said that she kind of quit the industry because she would show up to these movies like expecting to like make good friends.
Yeah.
And people were like, I'm here for myself. I'm here to get a nomination. I'm here to whatever. Like this is me. I'm doing this for me. And she was like, I just want to be friends with people. And like the rejection was really devastating. The friendship rejection was really devastating to her. And it kind of broke her spirit a little bit. And I think that was my experience. Like, I was just like, oh, you guys aren't here to, like, hang out and, like, be friends and, like, have a community? Like, oh, bummer.
Yeah.
So I think that took me a few months. And then I was auditioning for things, and I had some pretty big blows, like, back to back.
Yeah, yikes. That's the worst. And that's what I always tell people. It's like, sometimes it's not even the rejection, but it's like getting closer and closer and closer, and then it falls through, and you're like, okay, fuck. But then you're like, oh, wait, I can ride on the optimism. Like, my next thing's just around the corner. And then you get blown again. It's just like, how many times do you get knocked down?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting. And I think I was like, I don't know if I'm strong enough for this. Like, I think that I was like, this is really, I need to be stronger, because I think I was so focused. The other element of the business that I was seeing that was really difficult for me to grapple with was like the sharkiness of people around me, and like this like element of people being out for themselves and just like trying to make relationship just to make relationship,
just to climb. That's why I'm saying like the narcissistic element, I'm in it for myself, like that does exist. And if anyone fucking tells you it doesn't, they're fucking lying.
Well, it's so interesting because I've sort of come to a different place with all of it. But at the time, I didn't know how to come to the place I am now.
Yeah.
At the time, I was just like, what if I'm pursuing relationship with somebody and they perceive me to be sharky and I'm not, like, and I became obsessed with perception. And I was like, well, if that's the case, then I will never talk to them ever. And then I was shooting myself in the foot because I was like actively not pursuing a relationship with people in power because what if I came off looking bad, or what if I was sort of became obsessed with controlling the way that people perceived me because I just wanted to be like, I was like, I just want to be like a girl's girl. I just want to like celebrate people, and like I don't ever want it to be weird, so I'll just like only be friends with like other actors, or like I didn't know at the time how important it was to pursue people for people, but also like if you're a good person, like people at the top, they do want to work with people they get along with.
Yeah.
Like they would prefer to work with somebody that they felt like was easy to work with.
Yeah.
And so it does behoove you, if you're a person that's easy to work with, to show that and to introduce yourself to people who might potentially benefit from having your personality around.
Well, I think that also, I had a similar situation of, I just would act weird if I like knew too much because of that, like if I was coming in as a girl's girl and was safe within myself, secure within myself, it ties back to what you have to offer, I think, in your own confidence to the level of, I'm here to do a service, but I'm also here to connect with you, and we're about to do this thing, and I'm a creative person, and I'm a kind person, not just a nice person, but a kind person.
Yeah.
And there's almost this element of detachment too, because like there was a little bit of the like, I should be getting to know, like you were saying, it was like, I should be connecting with people because then, then maybe this will lead this and this, but it wasn't like natural to me. So I always made way better relationships with people that I was just like, hey, you're cool, let's talk.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, totally.
That's what I think people ultimately want. But if you want something on the other end of it, right? If it's transactionary,
right?
Is that a word? Transactional.
Transactional.
Then people can feel it. But then it's also weird because you see people doing that all the time.
And it working sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. It is really hard. I think I've come to kind of a different place in my mind. And I think I think I've decided it's a bit of both. It's just a more relaxed version. It's a more like confident within yourself kind of version. And I've been thinking about this actually a lot this week because my mentor was sitting me down this week and we started making like a chart.
Okay.
Which was really helpful. She was having me basically like, what's your end goal? Like if your end goal is like leading Lady Broadway, how are all of the ways you could get to that? Like what are all of the scenarios of like ways that you could get there? And then like draw those to another thing that you would make you get that, and then draw that to another thing, and basically draw it back to either a person you know or something you've already done. And then that way you can know for your head, like, oh, that's a normal path. That feels like tangible. So when you think like, oh, I want to be a leading lady on Broadway, that's so like ethereal. That's so like, how though? Yeah. And so if you can look at all these different paths that include all of these different people and relationships you already have, and that include all of these various things that lead you back to things you've already done or people that you already know, it can help you like know for yourself, like this isn't out of my reach. Yeah. This actually is something that I'm capable of doing, and I can see the path to it, that like these are the various ways that this could happen.
Yeah. So it's like opening yourself up to possibility, basically.
Yeah. And knowing that the relationships that you are building, really at the end of the day, people do just want to like work with people that they think are chill.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it's also like, I think when you're in your 20s and you're auditioning and you have this, I feel like everyone goes through some elements of this. It's also the reality that like the paradox of it all, that both are true. And then there's also grief in that too, which it kind of segues into where we're at now. Yeah. And kind of the whole reason why I brought you on and wanted to talk with you today is because I like kind of going off of that exercise that you did, I sort of tried to do that for me, but it wasn't in a surrendered place. It was coming out of fear because I can't keep going this way. I don't want this way. And the way that I wish, I mean, I guess I'm healing that in myself now and accepting that. But
what does this way mean when you say I can't do this way?
I couldn't be an ensemble dancer pushing 8 shows a week, like the way everybody wanted me to go. It felt I didn't, and the reason why was because I wanted more pay. I wanted set leverage. I wanted to be a leader. I didn't like how I was in some productions and saw how people led like as leads and being like, I could do that. But like I knew there was a capability in me I wanted to be in a bigger position of power, but not because I wanted to feel. Some of it was like, hey, I want to feel respected. But I think it was also like, and that's not to say, guys, when you're listening to this is not to say that like ensemble members aren't respected, or it was just like the environments and how I was being seen. I didn't feel like it was all the way for me in that world. It didn't feel good. And so, and also a lot of it came from my fear of I projected that the solution must be that then I have to be a lead over here on Broadway. I have to make it big now so that I can have the things that I want. So I basically distorted, and I tried to play God in a way that, listen, we can all manifest and do crazy things. We can. Like, creative people can envision things for themselves and make them happen. But when you clamp down on the exact way out of fear and not out of trust and surrender, like we both were capable of doing early in our life, like that also made it way worse of a feeling, because it was so it was in direct opposition with how I had lived so far. And it was like, I have to have it this way. I have to have it this way. And really, it just came down to I wasn't capable of accepting that maybe the way that I had dreamed this into being wasn't really the way my life was supposed to go. Like, and the minute I started softening around that around 2020, because I had to. Yeah. We all did, right? That's when I was finally like, fuck it. Like, I got to start listening. I've been living so out of alignment for so long, pushing so hard, trying to do it this path because, and this is what I've been dealing with grief this summer. I was actually acting out of fear because I'm going to cry. Oh my God. One of my deepest desires was to be a mother. Yeah. And I was in such fear that I didn't want to have motherhood in the way, like, everyone has a complication with motherhood and their own mother and all that. But you know, one of the beautiful things I loved about my mother was how present she was like early in our life. And like, because I was like picking up on what I was seeing and I wasn't expanded to seeing how it could be possible for me or how it could happen in my own life. I just went, oh my God, like if I'm still doing this Broadway thing or the entertainment industry thing, I don't know if I'm going to be the kind of mother that I want to be. Which again, those are all like limiting stories. None of that is true necessarily, but it was in such fear. Meanwhile, I kept picking bad partners and couldn't even find a fucking husband at the time. I was just like, I was just spiraling. You know what I mean? It was like not a good look.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up, the first step was reprogramming my brain so that I could attract better partnership and like start to soften. But when I was spinning so around, like, I want to be able to be a mom and provide a life and do all of this thing. And I need to do this first so I can be done. I think was what I was always like. I will do the acting thing first and then it will stop and then I'll be mom, which is like not how life works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like another reason why I was so interested in talking to you because you're a mom now.
Yes.
Yes.
I know. And it's so
You're a
funny.
mom.
And I totally did it on purpose. And it's so.
And I love it. And that's why I want to hear you talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's really funny because I had a very specific turning point where I got close on a couple things, almost made my Broadway debut a couple times, and then things didn't work out and didn't pan out. And I was really sad about it. And then through the casting process of Frozen, which happened, I think 2016, I want to say, I realized that, and she has spoken very openly about this, so I don't think I'm sharing any information that's not already online, but when Patty Murin got it, I knew that she had been trying to get pregnant, and I knew that she'd had some complications, and she was, I think, like 38 at the time that she got that role, and 38, 39, something like that. I knew that it was a stressful factor, that like that was something she really wanted to do, was to be a mom. And I remember thinking to myself, if I have a baby next year and I play Princess Anna when I'm 38, I'll have a 10-year-old who doesn't need me around that much.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, it was like around that time, and then it was also around the time where like Renee Lee Goldsberry won the Tony, and she gave this speech about being a mom and how she was a mom, and that was like such a huge part of her identity. She didn't think this would happen or know that this would happen, but it was like such a pleasant surprise in her life to kind of experience this, and it all started sort of clicking in my brain, and I was like, I think maybe I'm supposed to be a mom first.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now too.
Yeah.
And that's why I've had to almost, like what you're saying with Renee, that, I mean, people have been sending me things like as I've been more open about it, but like that was a moment, you know, where when I start to surrender and go, okay, I guess, right? Even though I've been fighting against it for so long, there's a lot of reverse engineering of my brain again because of spending so long being afraid of getting pregnant and hearing so much language around how scary it is and how your life is over and da. It's easy to like, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, I do want to be a mom though.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
You know? And so anyway, that starting to hear and talk to women being like, no, like there's people doing it. Like,
Absolutely.
This year I've had to be like, I think a big part of me stepping into leadership, which is not necessarily in a company, maybe, but with my own company, I think was where I was being led.
Yeah.
And then going, oh, like finally having that realization of like, well, maybe like I need to accept that it might not happen for me so that I can fully be present as a leader.
Yeah.
I need to not be afraid of messing it up.
Yeah.
And that's been the
you
grief.
can't mess up your own life. I mean, I feel like you are where you're supposed to be at all times, and I've been really trying to trust that. But I remember taking that moment, and I also felt and this is, I mean, these are just this comes into like my political leaning, which is that I cannot stress enough that nobody should ever like recommend being a mom to you unless you want it more than anything in your life. Because if anybody is on the fence about being a mom, they owe it to that child to not step into motherhood. And every woman deserves the ability to choose that for themselves, because I truly believe that every child deserves a mom who can look at them in the face and say, I wanted you more than anything. Every child deserves that. And when you are up in the middle of the night and you haven't slept in hours and you're laying on the rug in front of the crib sobbing because you're so overstimulated and tired, and they're sobbing, every single time I would look at them, I would turn to them and I would say, I wanted you more than anything, and we can get through this. But if you do not have the ability to say that, how do you move through that moment?
I don't know. Well, that's what I was like, I think my grief and my expectation of it going a certain way was stopping me from feeling just how much I desire that.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Because it was, I'm so afraid of it, and I want to do such a good job. And I value it so much that I like, but like, I think it's starting to sink in. It's like something that I don't want to feel because it brings up too much grief.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And that's been the process.
Letting go of that control.
Of letting go of the control. Because we never had control to begin with, bitch. It's a facade.
I know.
But like, I think where that's starting, I don't even know if I can say that yet, actually, because of all of the dissonance and the timelines that I'm processing and grieving. But at the same time, every time I get my period or I realize I'm not pregnant, it's like another, it's like,
oh, okay.
I was laying in bed with my husband just being like, I just want a baby so bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, sorry guys, you're getting like all the tears.
Yes.
I'm like probably in my luteal phase right now. I'm like,
bring them out. Yes.
But like starting to soften around that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also fascinating that once our brain, like in our system, is like more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
It's like I also started like feeling my cycle more as like a woman. Like I was less tuned out to my body, which is kind of interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
But, so you kind of always had that vulnerability, that knowing though. Like it didn't seem like you repressed it kind of like I did. Like
no, and I think it's because I really had a sense. I remember when like Erica Henningsen graduated. Yeah. She's a grade below me, or 2 grades below me. And when she started graduating, I mean, her star just rose.
She
like
was
from
instant,
instantly she was doing well. And I remember thinking, I don't think that's going to be my path. Like there was a little knowing in my like inner being that when I mean, I think we all do this. Maybe I'll sound crazy, and forgive me if I do. But
bring the crazy birds.
You know, like we all practice our Tony speeches in the mirror. Like we all, you know, like I often think about like what I will say sitting down, being like interviewed by Broadway World or like being interviewed by Playboy. Like I think about that kind of stuff all the time, and I always have. And for some reason, always in my dialogue, I was a little bit older, and I had already had kids. Like that was something that I always sort of was like, because the thing is that like what I want is health in my life. I want mental health and I want love. And yes, I want a career, but I don't think it's worth anything if you don't have love.
Right.
And I've seen people like rise and you know, Erica has also been very lucky in love, which is great, and that's her path. But I just remember thinking like for some reason I feel in my innermost being that my priority will be love and family within my career. It wasn't one or the other, but that my goal was to establish a really grounded sense of self before taking on leadership. Yeah. And so that is what I pursued. And don't get me wrong, like when we left New York to go raise my babies in the suburbs, like I left kicking and screaming. Like there was no part of me that wanted to leave New York. Like we moved to the suburbs and I was terribly depressed. I was so sad to be there. I didn't want to be there. It was just that we didn't have the ability to like not pursue theater and like make a living staying there while like neither of us were auditioning, because my husband was like learning how to be a software engineer.
Great. Is he still doing that?
He is. Yeah. He has a software engineering job as well. But we just like couldn't pay our bills. And so we were like, well, we have to move and do this for a while. Cause I was like, I want them back to back. And then I want to be done having babies. Yeah. So we moved to the suburbs and then the pandemic happened. So we were there a little bit longer than we thought. But I just remember knowing like, I will not stay here. Like I know that there's a future for me back in New York. And so I moved back and we moved back as a family and we celebrated my littlest's third birthday, like the week that we got here. So we moved here with like, I'm a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And got them kind of established. I spent the whole spring, summer with them, just like going to museums and going to the parks and kind of getting to know the neighborhood for the boys. And then they both started preschool and kindergarten that fall. And I finally had time to like prioritize myself and my health. And I wasn't like in great shape at the time. And so I needed to kind of prioritize that, spend some time on that. And I had to get an agent and had to do all of that stuff over again.
Well, I want to say two things because the agent thing I want to talk about as someone that's selfishly talking to you so that because I think I'm stepping into a chapter where I'm feeling that dissonance of like, listen, I've been building something for a long time. I've been trying to do both, but like I kind of need I don't know. It's like I'm afraid of separating from what I've been doing, and I'm kind of interested in like if you do take a break, like what happens. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about the one thing that got in my brain as you're talking about this, that it kind of seems like the only true mistake that will lead to misery is like a fixation on something versus a fluidity. So you can practice and you should practice and rehearse the dream coming true. And actually this new thing we're developing is all about that. But it's also about removing fixation and attachment to specifics. Because again, creatives, you're some magical motherfuckers. We all know that. And we need you to have your magic. That's part of your creativity. It's part of what you do. And if you fixate because there's some other things going on in your brain with whatever it is, the cocktail that's happening, you can mindfuck yourself just as badly.
Yes.
If you're fixating on out of fear. Versus I'm still going to rehearse and I'm going to be in delight and joy. I'm going to still give, and it has to feel good. Like this makes me feel good. I do it naturally because it makes me feel like myself. It makes me feel the potential. Not I need to mindfuck myself into believing in myself so that this happens in this exact way because I have an agenda. That is just always going to fuck you so badly. So, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm hearing in the difference of the stories is like you maintained a softness and a fluidity, even though it's hard and you're making these huge life choices and you go kicking and screaming. Like I left New York kicking and screaming fucking too. I was like, there's no fucking way. I had this whole fucking meditation about wanting to move to New York. I'm wild, but sorry. Everyone knows I'm crazy. I like really was having a hard time like during COVID being like, do I move back? Do I give up my apartment? Do I go back? Because we're all like, it's Brad, going to come back. And I'm momentum. Lies. But I had a meditation. I said this in my wedding vows because it's true. I had a meditation. If I stayed in buttfuck nowhere, like you're saying, like I was in the middle of fucking nowhere subway. I was living at my parents' house. If I thought about going back to New York, it was like literally showing me like it was like a cul-de-sac. Like I would end up where I was. If I stayed and finally like softened into listening to whatever it is that's showing me what my way is. Like you're saying, like, I don't know what my way is, but the first seed was just stay here because the image was a tree growing down its roots into the ground and forming this like huge, strong foundation. And that was before I had anything. I was like just on unemployment actor, you know, and I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, I guess. Like, what good is it for me to fight this anymore? I'm exhausted. Okay, fine. Staying at my parents' house in Butler, Pennsylvania is going to lead to a tree. Okay. Like, I was like surrendered enough to be like, all right, let's fucking go. As soon as I stopped that meditation, I came out and I was like, I'm going to meet my husband now. Like, I just knew. Like, I finally was starting to listen, and it felt like universe was like, you're ready. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to meet my husband now. And she was like, okay. I met him, like, a couple days later.
That's so crazy.
And then I had the intuitive hit to start a podcast. It was a different podcast than this, but I was like, okay. I invited Emily Kristen Morris on.
Amazing.
Just because I saw she was popping off. I was like, okay, bet. And she
Yeah.
came on. She was like, listen, I have a huge following right now. I need help. Will you go get trained as a teacher? I was like, okay. I did that.
Yeah.
And that completely opened up this entire, it's insane.
That's crazy.
But that's what I mean. The
Yeah.
softening that needs to happen.
Yes, the softening,
You know,
for sure.
But like, I really admire, it's like, yeah, parts of us might be like, what the fuck? But then when you're being brought in, it's really beautiful because when you're talking about the ages of your kids and how it sounds like you're being called, this is the chapter in your life where it makes sense that even with their schedules and stuff too, having that spaces of time in your day to be able to focus on what you're saying.
Yeah, and it is something that I deeply wanted, and I'm so grateful for. Like, I would not have been okay staying in New York and to make it work, like working full time. I didn't want to do
with
that.
babies.
I wanted
Yeah.
to be with them. I wanted to be with them every second of the day. Like my kids, like, I mean, I nursed them just I didn't really give them bottles. Like I was just with them all the time. Like, and I was so grateful to have that time with them and that bond with them. And I wouldn't trade that time for the world. I'm so grateful that I had it. And it's funny because now it felt like forever in the moment. And now I look back on it, it's like a blink.
It's a blank. Well, and then you were talking about how did you then start to transition out of, okay, we moved to New York, the kids are in school, I'm getting everything in shape. Did it feel like starting over or did it feel like
100%. I felt like I was completely starting over, but I didn't have the push of my showcase. Like
so what was that process
really
of like
hard.
It was hard. Yeah.
It was really hard, yeah. I mean, thankfully I have worked really hard to still cultivate my relationships with my professors. And so they went to bat for me, which was really nice and got me in touch with some agencies, which was great.
So you leveraged the connections you did have.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was able to sign with somebody, but it took them months. Took them, I think 6 months to decide whether or not they wanted me. They had to like offload some other people, and it's a boutique agency. And so they were like trying to make the numbers work because they only take 80 people. And so they were trying to figure out how to move it around. But eventually I just was really consistent and I started getting really bold with my emails. And that's how I got Titanic at City Center. Was like, I literally begged for it.
Yeah, the agent, you were like, get me an appointment. Like, how did that go? Like,
I begged casting. Yeah. I sent them so many emails. I don't recommend.
I don't wait. So you directly, maybe, but this is
Yeah,
bold. But I want to
sorry.
know. No, it's okay. So so you literally emailed casting.
Yeah.
You know what? Those are so hard to get into, though. Like
I
New
know.
York City
I
Centers.
didn't even audition.
What the fuck?
I know.
Did you just? What the fuck?
I know.
You sent them like a self tape? Or you just were like-
Yeah. No, I mean, so this particular.
But you're magical. Listen, if it's for you, it's for you. Anyway, that's what I mean.
No, this particular. I think this particular casting director. We had seen some heartbreaks together, like where like I had been. We had a relationship where like multiple times, like there was like in the room. She was like, "This is it. I know it," And then like I was one particular moment with a particular show where I could tell she was so sure that it was like gonna happen, and then I finished my song and I like looked at them, and they were like beaming, and they like looked at the director, and the director was like, "Okay, thank you," and they were like. Like it was like, you know what I mean? Like the heartbreak happening in the room at the same moment. And so we'd been through a couple of those things where I felt like they just really had advocated for me in some really important ways. And that comes from a decade of a relationship with this person. So I don't recommend, but I did
That's a special case.
I did beg. And they were like, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do everything that I can. And at the very last minute, they added me as a swing. So, and it was like a favor. It was like hey, she's back. She's great. She can sing it. You need the high notes. You need whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody sings like her. Just stick her in as a swing.
Yeah.
And so it was just like very last minute. But oftentimes that is how it happens with encores. Like it's just like recommend.
Yeah.
It's like, and also like my husband had done a lot of encores shows with this music director.
Okay.
So I think it was like, hey, like you should put Daniel's wife in here. Like she's great. She's got all these credits, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, we love Daniel. I'm sure Grace is great. Like it was one of those things.
Yeah.
So, But that was it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, it was definitely supposed to be that way.
And when that happened, did it start to pick up more than with auditions or no? No, but we just sat in the void again.
Well, that's sort of been what this past year has been for me is a lot of surrendering.
Yep.
It's a lot of re-surrendering.
Isn't that just fucking annoying,
it's
though?
so annoying.
It's so fucking annoying. My year's been, 2025 is the year of, okay, you can fight it, but you're going to drown. So up to you, babe.
Yes. And
up to you.
It's really been the first time that and it's part of like why I made that video, because I felt like for the first time I was being asked to sit in the negative and really process the fact that things didn't go the way that I wanted to.
Right.
And I've been afraid to do that. And I feel like I was at probably like 6 months ago, I was at a birthday party and I was chatting with a friend from school and I said something about like, well, you know, like when you were on Broadway or whatever. And she was like, girl, no, I never been on Broadway. And I was like, what? Yeah, you have. And she was like, no, I haven't. And she was like, but you know, like you've been on Broadway. And I was like, girl, no. And she was like, what? She was like, I could have sworn that you've been on Broadway before. And I was like, nope, still waiting. And she was like, that is wild to me. And so I think that there's been a lot of like, I've slipped under the radar that people have like thought I had a good career. Not that I haven't, but it hasn't been what I thought it was going. I haven't been on Broadway. And so making that video, I had like a horrible vulnerability hangover after making that video because I felt like I outed myself.
I know, but like how brilliant you outed your shadow, bitch. Thank fucking God, because it frees you. It frees you, but like also like so. Let's talk. So you're mentioning first of all, this container that's new, guys, is gonna handle like literally everything we're talking about. So again, if the ad played, pay attention. If it didn't play, get your ass on that email list. Make sure you get the free Abundant Artist audio track to get you started.
There you go.
But this is insane. So let's talk about the multiple layers you just fucking unveiled here. Okay, so briefly, we just need to unpack.
Yeah.
So you took a cliff jump.
Yes.
You outed your shadow in order to be present with the grief. And basically what I'm saying when I'm saying these words, guys, if there's shame around a reality or something that you're having a hard time processing, part of actually processing the shame is that you have to look at it and accept it. And if you can out it and own it, what you don't own owns you. So you start to function in a way where you're kind of apologizing for this baggage that no one even really knows about.
Yes.
So it can really affect how you carry yourself.
Yes.
And it weighs on you.
Yeah.
Right? And so by outing your shadow, what that does, and even just like having a video pop off at all, what that does is to your system, that's a visibility thing. So your nervous system, we're not used to being perceived by a lot of people. A lot of artists will be like, I am not afraid of being visible. And I'm like, yeah, you are, bitch. Otherwise you'd have a bunch of followers. Hate to tell you.
Yeah.
But it's this energy that happens, you know, is your system capable of holding that type of visibility? So it sounds like you jumped, you were vulnerable, and then did it go... after?
Yeah. Well, that's
that
been a big part of the work that I've been trying to do. So we talked a little bit about like pre-COVID, being a mom.
Yeah.
I had that giant fear of being perceived. And I think moving back into the city, I also had a giant fear of my body being perceived because my body did not look the way that it did before.
Yeah, but you're a human who had babies.
Yeah.
And the world can be, Anyway, keep going.
So I finally had to, I had a coach, like a career coach that I was working with at the time, who I had to really sit down and be like, okay, I need to learn to, first of all, like love myself as is. And then I need to decide, do I want to let this size be a part of like how I put myself out into the world? Or do I want to pursue health for myself in a different, like how can I feel most safe showing up in a room and being seen? And I decided for myself, I didn't feel comfortable in myself. And so I pursued health from a place of love and not of hate towards my body, which I think was helpful. And my goal was never to be a supermodel, but my goal was just to feel more like myself. And I feel like I have pursued that. So I'm sure a lot of people in the health and fitness world would be like, you can do more, but I don't care. I just feel more myself.
Yeah.
So And I didn't at the time. So I had to first deal with that. Like I'm okay as is. How do I want to show up and how do I feel most comfortable being perceived in the world? And so once I got over that hurdle, I then had to just in general be like, okay, now I need to put myself out there and just not worry about being perceived and just like be ready to be seen. However I am, I'm a good person and people are going to think what they're going to think, or I'm talented and people are going to think what they think, or whatever. So just taking these giant leaps, which is, yes, why I started pursuing social media. And I had probably a few months ago, I posted a video of my like a tour of my apartment, and that has like almost 8 million views.
What?
Which,
Wait,
yeah.
because it's gorgeous? Like, why?
Yeah, I have no idea why.
Wait,
it
you
just
toured-
popped off.
Isn't that always fascinating? It's always like, why? Why this one?
Don't know.
I have one that's like 5 million views of like me. I probably took a total of 1 minute to make it.
Sure.
It's me talking about those shitty apps. They're like, hum this note. Do
Oh,
this.
yeah.
La, la, la. You're an alto. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's a piece of shit. Don't.
Yeah.
It's not fucking going to do anything.
Yeah,
Any
for sure.
voice teacher plugging that is a fucking sellout. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Also, you're probably not an alto. You just have a phobia of your head voice.
Sure.
Hate to say.
Sure.
Even if you are an alto, you still need to work on your head voice. That's
Yeah.
basically what I
the
said.
video is.
And it's,
It
oh
popped
my God,
off.
people share their whole life stories. People argue with me that they
That's
are in
so
fact
funny.
altos. And I say, good for you, babe.
Good for
No
you.
one said
No one
you
cares.
weren't.
Well, that's what's so interesting is like there are certain things where it's like people were so funny because like I have my kids share a room and they have bunk bed and people were like child abuse and I was like whatever. And I don't care what people think of my apartment. I don't care. And
Yeah.
I mean everybody loved it, but people had a big problem with the fact that I store my closed in plastic toilet paper in the window of my shower and people are like your toilet paper is going to get soggy. And I was
Does
like,
it?
it's enclosed in plastic. And no, once it's open, I move it to a different shelf. But like, whatever. Anyway.
Also, why do you fucking care? You're not using, are you using soggy ass toilet paper on yourself? Like, go have a life. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it was interesting. But like, I don't care about that. But the video about me, and I've had some other ones, like I made a video about how like I sang on K-pop Demon Hunters and like
Yeah,
that
girl. And then some
has-
people are like, oh, I saw you made another video of being like, this sounds like someone that's trying to, grab on.
yeah.
And you were like, respectfully, duh. Of course I am. This thing fucking rocks.
Are you kidding?
I'm proud of this. Are you kidding? You wouldn't do this to me?
Yes. If you sang on K-pop Demon Hunters, you would be shouting it for
Absolutely.
the
And
Raptors.
I
Are
was
you
like, oh my
kidding?
God, you sang on K-pop Demon. I was so thrilled to learn that you did that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
such a rock and roll gig, dude.
Oh my gosh. And listen, that all came from a bold email.
It did?
Yes.
From a music director?
Yeah, no, I emailed. So I went to school with Justin Paul, like of Pascal
Okay.
Paul.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I emailed Justin and I was like, I want to do session singing.
Okay.
Is there anybody like, can I do session singing on your movies? And he was like, I don't pick who sings on the movies, but like our executive music producer does. So I'll give you his information.
Sure.
And so he gave me his information and I emailed him and I was like, hey, I'm a session singer. Like, this is what I do and I'm great and I'm an amazing sight reader and I'm a great part singing and blah, blah, blah. And so he had someone cancel on like a last minute session for like a Rebel Wilson movie.
Great.
And I went in and nailed it. And he was like, oh, and now he uses me for everything. So I've got like another movie that's coming out around Christmas that I'm singing on. And I've done some demos for him for like he and his wife wrote this with Kate Kerrigan. They wrote this musical called The Heart. And so I did some demo work on that.
Great.
And yeah, anyway, so now I'm just like a go-to.
I love that. I've always wanted to be, I'm a go-to for a couple people.
Yeah.
I've gotten hired a few times for my ability to sight sing.
Yes.
They don't have to teach me.
Yes.
And the range and the flexibility and my ability to also manipulate mixes and sounds.
Yes.
And I coach people to do that, right? That's my fucking job. I'm
Yes.
like, I know enough. And like, if a music director's like, I want this thing, I'm like, bet. But usually
Yes.
it's not their language. It's, I have to translate it into
Sure.
whatever it is.
Yes.
So I've wanted to do that more. I have done it. I've been on some cast albums because of that. For
Yes.
different things. But I would like to do that more. That's something I'd like to do.
Yes.
So that's cool to hear that you've been doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes, you should. And that's the other thing is like the community, there's not a great like way to advertise yourself that way.
Yeah.
It's all just like kind of who you know. And because I've been trying to do that with like the world of like readings and workshops. I'm like, you need to be using people who learn this material fast.
Yeah, you're spending so much. That pisses me off. I'm like, we don't need 3 days. Like,
No,
go through it
just
once and I will get it. Okay.
Yes,
we'll
just
go.
pick people who can just read it off the page.
Literally. That pisses me off too. And then, at those workshops, I'm always like, hey, just so you know, I'm really good at this. And they're like, you are really good at this.
Yes.
Like, every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did actually get hired for a reading recently where this was kind of an unprecedented thing. They cast it for a group of people for the script and then a group of people for the score. And because they just wanted to hear it and they only had like a very limited amount of time. And it was like an epic score with like a ton of ensemble singing and a ton of everybody had like so many songs. And so we had like 2 days to learn the score and we spent about 7 minutes with each song. And then we just performed it.
That's thrilling. I'm
excited.
It was
really, really fun.
Love that.
But what was crazy is that they only had like 6 of us, I think. So we were doing all the leads and then all of the ensemble singing. Yeah. And the people that they hired were all musicians.
Yep.
And they asked, and I remember we were like sitting out for drinks and they were like, what instrument do you play, Grace? And I was like, I don't. And they were like, you don't play an instrument? Like, how'd you get this gig? And I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just known as like a really good sight reader.
We love that.
So,
we love a sight reading
it pays
queen.
to sight read.
Do you, I have a couple questions. Do you sight sing with memorizing the notes in your body or do you do it like based off theory and chord progression? Like what's your sight singing tactic?
I think it's just really good oral skills.
Yep. That's it, folks.
I think that's it. Yeah. Because I actually have been a session singer my whole life. So like
awesome.
in Indiana, there's like this weird community of like that's where they record a lot of the choral music that's published in the country. Oh. And so I worked as like a choral session singer with I was the worst sight singer there. Like these people are like choral directors, professors of music, like so intense. And then also a lot of, at the time, I don't know where they record now, but my whole like childhood and teenage into my young 20s years, all of the Broadway junior shows were recorded there. Okay. So like a lot, like if your school's doing like a Broadway junior show.
And there's a backup vocal track or like the demo track.
The demo tracks, like if you do Sound and Music, like that's me and my husband. Or like if you do, Pirates and Penzance, like I'm Mabel, or Singing in the Rain, I'm, what's her face? Kathy.
Nice.
Yeah. So I had been session singing my whole life. So when I moved here, I was like, I really want to do that.
Yeah. I think the people that are really comfortable, like I have a similar, not session singing, but I was like, that's why I talk about alto so much because I thought I was an alto for so long. I was a excellent.
That's so funny.
Like atonal alto reader. And I was like nationally fucking ranked because we would do these competitions.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Where you would get like 10 to 12 pieces of music in different languages.
Wow.
And then they'd be like, hey, you would go learn them sort of. And then I got better and better and I just stopped fucking learning them and just sight read them.
Yeah.
But or I'd like go through them a little bit. But they would blindly pick a piece or two and they'd get like a 32 bar cut and they'd be like, hey, go from measure 48 to 64. And then you go pitch pipe and then a cappella.
Wow.
I would sing
that sounds
the
so fun.
alto line, which was always like do da 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 da
super weird
da 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 da. Like it made no sense, but it trained my brain. My body literally like physically can remember pitches like it's piano.
Yes.
So then and that's where I developed a pitch course called Pitch. It was Pitch Please, now it's Pitch a Musician, that like literally just teaches that with lots of repetition. But that's basically what it is. It's like learning jumps and being like, this note is a C and this is and sometimes I'll be in rehearsal. I'm like, people are like, do you have perfect pitch? And I'm like, no, because it's not fucking perfect.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty close.
Really good relative pitch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't have perfect pitch either. I just have a good relative pitch. If you were like sing a C, I'd be
close.
Yeah, I'd ballpark it, and it'd probably be close.
Pretty close. Maybe a semitone off or so, but like it's mostly
it's mostly there.
So then if you have a piece, and then you don't have to be like, oh my god,
Yeah.
It's like you're just trugging along. When I did recently a cast album for the Broadway Vacation show that's like trying to slowly make its way there. But the budget is quite low, I guess, on this. Like they're going to be releasing it soon. I'm not giving anything away, but like in a couple weeks, they're going to release this cast album. I think it's just maybe a sample platter. I'm not really sure, but they had us, because there's a budget. Like I was in the production, but I sang soprano 1 for all the high notes that they wanted. Same deal. I get hired for high notes, but then they were like, "Oh, we didn't really hire anyone else. Can you read all of the other parts?"
Oh my gosh,
in the session,
that's
and I was like,
amazing.
"Okay, cool." They didn't teach them to us.
Wow.
Because they didn't have time. We were in session. So I sight read.
Everything.
If you guys listen to that album, if you go and you listen to the Broadway
ready.
Vacation, there's me and one other girl, and we are doing every single vocal line on this like 8-part vocal line
That's
choral.
amazing.
But then sometimes they were like getting takes of us because they wanted texture. So then I was like, some were like low larynx takes, some were like high larynx takes, so that they could blend a character. It sounds the most Disney theme park thing I've ever heard.
That's
it's so
amazing.
clean and weird because
I love
like,
it.
but they wanted the texture, so they like had a sight read in different, almost like in different characters as well.
Totally.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people can do that. And I want to do it more because it was like thrilling. I'm like, this must be what excellent dancer swings feel like.
Yes. Yes. It lights up every part of your brain. That's always how I felt. That was really the first thing that I started doing after, I had my babies. I like went back to the recording studio and I would come back and I was just like, oh my gosh, every single ounce of my brain was lit up. And sometimes with babies, it feels like your brain is shutting down. And so it was so thrilling to go and feel like, wow.
And just feel like,
yes.
It's great to leave anything creative and just feel like you got that spark again.
Absolutely.
Like, this is so great.
I know. I wish there was more of that work in the city. There's not a ton of it.
Yeah.
But in Indiana, I was doing it like 3 times a week.
Wow. Yeah, because of that hub of what that is.
Of all published choral music. Yeah.
Wow,
so and then that was intense. And it was fun to do like 10-part harmony in the room,
Oh, yeah. That's always, like we were saying when we came in here before we started recording, it was like when you met your husband, you're like, boys can sing. Like when you're a kid being like, oh my God, like, to be in a good choir, like when you're in your community theater and everyone's a little janky, then you go do the professional thing. You're like, holy shit!
Yes, I know. I miss singing in a choir. I'm like, I think I might want to like audition for like BIV or something. I don't know.
Or like sometimes they do those pop-ups. I don't know what BIV is.
Broadway Inspirational Voices.
Oh,
you should do it too. Let's do it together.
We can do it together. I have no idea what it is, but what is it?
They do. So they did like the opening number at the Tonys with Cynthia Erivo.
Amazing.
They do SNL sometimes. They do late night shows. They do like any time. Yeah, you'll have to look them up because Broadway Inspirational Voices is amazing. And it's like part of the Broadway community. And it's like a gospel choir, essentially.
Oh, wait.
And they do a Christmas concert. Yes, they do a Christmas concert every year. And a lot of these people have been doing it for like 30 years.
Yeah.
They just kind of come and go. Like, do you know Alexa Green? She went to CCM.
Yeah, I know of her, yeah.
She's in it.
Okay, great. So it's like just like top vocal people that just get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Every once in a while, they let some white people in.
Okay, the gospel choir. Oh God, oh good Lord! I have to really turn up the soul.
Oh, we really went
with the Wonder Bread soprano.
I know.
Anyway, yeah, but I think it's gonna be that's so cool.
But I just miss singing in a choir. You know,
exactly.
It's so fun to be in a choir.
Sometimes they do like pop-ups around though too. I've seen on Instagram. I don't know where those are. So if you do know, you should email us and let us know. So we've been talking for a while. It's been a really lovely conversation. We've like wound around.
Yes.
Wound around. That was amazing. Yeah. Is there anything, Grace, you want to leave people with here as we're kind of wrapping up here? I mean, based off of what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think something that I feel very strongly about is that if like specifically, I think for women, it's such a sacrifice to become a parent, and I think that I want to be a part of encouraging people that something that I often say is that I think it's my responsibility as a parent not to sacrifice my dreams for my children, but to teach them how. I want to teach them how to dream, how to pursue their art and to pursue themselves while caring for the people that they love. And I really believe that you don't have to set that aside when you pursue family. And I feel like I see that all around me. Like one of the things that I always tell people is like when I did Titanic, I was in a dressing room and there was literally only one person in that dressing room that wasn't a mom. Everybody else was a mom. And that like we had a little mini fridge in there that was just filled to the brim with like breast milk. Like everybody was just like, it was just like everybody had kids. And like Lily Cooper was in there with her 7-week-old baby. And I was like holding her baby during rehearsals. And she would bring her baby backstage and like everybody and people would bring their dogs backstage, and it was like that is the kind of community, that's the kind of theater that I want to see being perpetuated in the world. And I really believe that an industry that prioritizes people prioritizes the right things. And I think that that's sort of why I made the decisions that I made, and I believe that I want to be a part of seeing this industry be more caring to mothers. And and that wasn't the way it used to be. If you look at all the Broadway divas of the past, they weren't moms. Yeah. But now they're all moms. Look at them all. They're all moms.
That's amazing. No, I'm so glad you're talking about that. It's actually been really expansive for me to, again, watch someone embody the thing that I'm working towards in my own way. And yeah, I just really want to thank you so much. We hit so many great topics that, again, if you relate to even like one of the many things we covered here, this new container, I know I sound so cryptic, and you might have heard the ad and you'll be like, bitch, just say it. But you might not have, because I can't decide when I'm releasing this at this point. So anyway, but I'll just tell you this. If you related at all to the grief of the dreams shifting, if you related to even the fear around what does this look like for me? How do I surrender to this? How do I feel safe? Even you were talking about the body image and kind of starting over. And if you have a hard time accepting where you are, right? Accepting what you have to offer, even making the decision over, okay, how do I reclaim my body? How do I reclaim my view of myself? How do I start manifesting things that are for me specifically? And look at start to train my brain basically to look at the industry in a way that I want to be a part of it, basically.
Yeah.
If that's happening, if any of those things, so that we even touch like creative play and creative joy. If you're at a point where you are like, God, it's been a slog, or you have the fear of visibility. We've literally combed through so much stuff that will support you in this new thing. It is so legit. I'm both excited and scared to share it because of how big it is. Yeah. But I really think that it starts with having conversations like this. And then it starts with us just, being able to hold ourselves through that space. Like you did so bravely, just being like, listen, this is here. And I'm not going to try to change it. I'm going to finally like see myself here and be with myself. Yeah. And then, then we can move on. But until you have the ability to love, it's like loving yourself enough to like give yourself that space and that grace. You know what I mean? Grace Morgan.
That's my name.
That's my name. But anyway, if you relate to any of those things we just talked about, please check out the show notes. I might go back and change once this container is like public. Maybe I'll go back and add it to this episode because it was so perfectly leading into the work that we'll be exploring in 2026. But if not, check out the free Abundant Artist audio series. Get your ass on that email list so that you find out about this, because literally when this is announced around the holidays, you're going to want to get on the pricing that is listed for, because it's only going to be low for that period of time. There's like a really small window of time. So I would get your butt in there. Okay. Anyway, all that to say, I really appreciate you, Grace, for coming on today and coming out to Queens to hang out with me. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's good to share our trauma bonding.
Trauma. Yay! The music starts to play like do 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 do.
For real. I love it. Yay!
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. This helps me get this information out to more artists all over the world. Let's work together to spread the joys of music. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, signing off from the Singer's Path podcast. Thanks for listening.